Oop. Where is the... Let's pop out the chat. Hey guys. Alright, so alright, looks like not everyone has come in yet, so I'll wait until around 5 p.m., maybe 5:01, 5:02 until we officially start. Alright, so this is going to be my final class of the summer because in August I'm gonna go out with my family. But I will resume teaching in September in the fall. Except I might not be teaching Java again. I'll probably be teaching something like web development in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because I feel like that would be really interesting for you guys. Cause once you learn like some of the theory, basic programming from Java, you can start to use HTML, CSS to make a project. Alright, so I thought today, as our final class for the summer, I would go over some CCC questions. So to review on everything we've done, we are going to use these CCC questions to test ourselves and see if we're able to complete some of these competitive questions. And I think you guys should be pretty good. You guys should be able to solve a few. Um, yeah, considering you guys just started out a couple months ago, I think the progress we've made has been very, very good. Very, very good indeed. Okay, okay, it's still 4:58 right now, so I'll give it 2 more minutes. But yeah, I'm happy you guys could make it to our final class of the summer. Pretty soon in September, youth computing is going to have a lot more events like a hackathon, which is actually coming up, which will have lots of different keynote speakers and different workshops which you can attend. And at the end, you can use all your knowledge that you learned in those workshops and do a little research outside your own to make your own project. If you guys are interested in that kind of event, I'll send you the link to it. Um, Actually, I'll send you guys the link to it either way. Okay, it's 4:59 right now. So let's just, in that case, we'll just give it 2 more minutes until 5:01, and then we'll start read in the first question, telemarketer or not. Right, so let's go to our online editor and let's create a brand new file. Okay, we'll call it CCC. What year is this? 2018. 18 Junior. We'll create that right now. Okay. Let's just test out the shell really quickly. Alright, let's create our first folder. We'll call this folder we'll call it J1. So we'll add a file here, call it main.java. We'll copy and paste this main file in. Okay, so it's looking good. We have a couple people. In that case, I think I'll start right on time. And I'll get into the first question, telemarketer or not. Alright, so problem J1 is telemarketer or not. The problem description goes as follows. Here are the concerned citizens of commerce, also known as the CCC. Funny because the competition is called the CCC. We have noted that telemarketers like to use 7-digit phone numbers, where the last 4 digits have 3 properties. Looking just at the last 4 digits, these properties are, the first of these 4 digits is an 8 or 9. The last digit is an 8 or 9. The second and third digits are the same. For example, if the last 4 digits of the telephone number are 8229, 8338, or 9008, these are telemarketer numbers. Write a program to decide if a telephone number is a telemarketer number or not, based on the last 4 digits. If the number is not a telemarketer number, we should answer the phone, and otherwise we should ignore it. The input will be 4 lines where each line contains exactly 1 digit in the range from 0 to 9. Okay, so for our input, we're going to be taking in 4 integer values, as you can see here. Now, when I see this question, the first thing I think is, how could I store these numbers to make them easier to work with? Well, one way we can do that is just by creating 4 individual variables, and then inside those variables, we attribute these numbers with them. That's a good one way to do it. Also, another way it would be to use an array. And so we could create an array of size 4, and inside of the array, we could put each of these integer values in it. That's also one way to do it. Okay, and so for this one, I'm going to show you guys how I would do it with an array, because very recently we've been working a lot with arrays. Alright, so let's start. First, let's create an array. So we'll say int. I will name this array digits is equal to new int array. I will say this will be of the size 4. Okay, now we'll look at the conditions to see if it's a telemarketer or not. So the first of these 4 digits is an 8 or 9. Okay, so let's use an if statement. If digits 0 is equal to 8, or digits 0 is equal to 9. And so here, we're basically just taking a look at the array. Let's create a new draw dot draw. So let's visualize this array really quickly. So we have 4 integers within this array. Suppose we have the values 4, 5, 3, and 9 as the 4 final digits of the array. When we call this using digits 0, we're looking at index, which in this case is 0. And over here, since the index does not start at 1, it starts at 0, we're actually looking at this value of 4, right? This is the 0th index. Now, if we wanted to go to the first index, we would go to number 5. That's the first index. And then the second index, we go to 3. And in third index, we'd go to 9. So always remember that when it comes to indexes, we always start at 0, not 1. But okay, let's get back to the question. So the first of these 4 digits is an 8 or 9. So we've already said that already. So if the first digit within the array, which is the index 0 of the array, is equal to 8 or 9, we will say, what does it want us to say? Well, we want to print out ignore. That's what we'll do. We'll say system.out.println, then we'll print out the string ignore. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat, guys. Alright? So, we've got the first condition down. So, the second one is the last digit is an 8 or 9. So, what we can do here is we can actually copy this statement. And instead of rewriting it, what we can do is just replace the index with the index digits length. So the dot length method, when used in the context of array, will return to us the last index within that array. And that's basically like the index of the last digit. Okay, wait, that's so the length of the array is the last index. And because we want to look at the last value inside of the array, we have to use the last index. Okay. We'll also ignore. Let's expand this a bit outwards. Okay. Next, the second and third digits are the same. Alright. So for this, we'll write another if statement. If digits, so the two middle ones are 1 and 2. So if digits 1 is equal to digits 2, we will say return, or no, sorry, system.out.println. We'll print out ignore again because that would mean the telemarketer, and we don't want to listen to telemarketers. Alright, now what happens if none of these conditions are met? Well, okay, wait, hold on. Let's change this to an else if statement. If none of these conditions are met, we will just say to print out. What would we print out? We want to print out answer. Okay. So let's try this out right now. So let's cd inside of J1. Okay, I'll say run this. Let's see what we get. Oh, okay, hold on, sorry. This should be 3. And also something else is I forgot to import the java.util.scanner package. So yeah, so we need that in order to take in user input. Import java.util.scanner. Alright, now inside here we will create our scanner. Scanner scan is equal to new scanner system. And we will say that For int I equals 0, I is smaller than digits of length, we will say I plus plus. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm creating a loop to take in the input. So every time this loop iterates, I will increase by 1, and we'll use I to keep track of the index. So if I increases by 1 every single time, that means that at first we start out at 0 and we assign a value to 0. Then when I goes to 1, we go over here and use that as our index and assign a value to digits, the value of digits in index 1, and assign it to 2 in the second index and the third index. Alright. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, okay? Because asking questions is a great way to learn. Also, I need to know if you guys understand it, so then that way I can go more in depth or like try to explain it to you guys again. Okay, alright, so we'll say digits I equals scan dot next int. Alright, so let's run it. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add this semicolon there. Alright, let's try again. Alright, so let's say we take in put 1, 2, 3, all the bounds for length 3. Alright, let's take a look. Change this to 4. Line 18 is equal to it. Alright, let's try length minus 1. Length minus 1. Alright, sorry. Okay, I don't know what's up with that. Java main.java. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we will answer it because it doesn't meet either of these conditions. So that means that it is not a telemarketer, which means we can answer the person. We can answer the phone. Alright, let's go on to another question now. So create a folder called J2, and I will add a file and call it Java. Clear this. Go to our console. Clear this. Okay. No, I don't want this to be here. I want it to be outside. So J2. Okay. So we will add a file called main.java. So we'll copy and paste this main method here, and then we'll read the second problem. Okay, so this problem is called occupy parking. So yeah, also if you guys need time to copy down the code, also let me know. But yeah, I guess I'll give you guys 2 minutes to copy it down. But if you guys are done the question, let me know by just typing done within the chat, okay? if you guys want, I can create a poll. So let's ask a question. Have you finished the question? Right. Yeah, so if you don't want to type it directly in the chat, what you can do is just like use that poll, and yeah, you can use this poll, and you can let me know, because I can't see who answers it. I can only see the amount of people who answered it. Okay, so how many people have answered? One person. Alright. So in that case, I'll give you time to copy down the code. Okay, so we have one person who did finish. That's good. So that's good. That's good. Alright. In that case, I'll give you guys time. Okay, so 3 people have finished. Alright. So for the person who did not finish, I can okay, so 2 people have not finished. Alright, so that's fine. I'll just give you guys a little bit more time. If you want, I can also copy and paste the code and send it to you guys too. To the chat. Okay, it's too long for me to fit in. So yeah, maybe afterwards you guys can rewatch it and want to copy it down, or else you guys can just I can create a Google Meet meeting afterwards and send you guys the code there. But alright, so I think since the majority of people are done, first just keep going. So let's go on to this question, J2. So the problem description goes as follows. You supervise a small parking lot which has n parking spaces. Today you recorded which parking spaces were occupied by cars and which were empty. Today you recorded the same information. How many of the parking spaces were occupied both yesterday and today? So let's take a look at the input specification. The first line of input contains the integer n. The second and third lines of input contain n characters each. The second line of input records the information about yesterday's parking spaces. And the third line of input records the information about today's parking spaces. Each of these two n characters will either be C to indicate an occupied space, or a dot a period to indicate it was an empty parking space. So for our output, we want to output a number of parking spaces which were occupied both yesterday and today. Alright, so okay. Alright, so we're going to have two strings essentially, which will represent the parking spot, okay? And if it has a C, that means that it was occupied. If it does not have a C, that means it was not occupied. If it has a dot, it's not occupied. So we want to basically see which cars were occupied both yesterday and today. So we can see that in the first parking lot, the car here was a C, so it's occupied, and this car here was also C, so it's occupied, but this one was a dot, so it's not occupied. This one was also dot, so it's also not occupied, and then the last one was occupied. Okay. So, and if we look and compare with the second one, we can see that only this car is still there. So that means that car is the only one still there. The other ones have all either changed and new cars have came, or they're still unoccupied. So first of all, we have to think, how are we going to compare these two parking lots? Well, one way we could do this is that we could create an array of strings or characters, and then each one of these letters or dots would represent be one index within the array. And so then we will just compare the same indexes and loop through to see if use a loop to loop through to check if each one is if one of them is a C and then the second one is also a C. So what we would do is we would create two arrays and then compare those indexes. Or what we could do is create strings and then use the substring method to compare those indexes. But alright, let's start coding it. So let's get rid of this. I will import our java.util.scanner package so that we can use a scanner object. So we'll first start off by creating a scanner object. I'll call it scan. It's a new scanner, and we'll say system.in. Right. So we've created our scanner object. I named it scan. Next, we're going to take an int n, and int n will have the value of scan.nextInt, which is basically just taken in value from the console. Okay. Next. Alright. Next, we'll create two arrays. I will say string. String. We'll name this parking spaces, or we'll just call it parking. We'll say new string. So we'll have how many? We'll have the same amount as n. So we'll have one which is called parking1 and parking2. Parking2 will be the most recent, and then parking1 will be the oldest. So let's create this array. And alright. And we'll say okay, then we'll take in the input of two strings and we'll say string we'll just say, what will we name this string? I guess we'll say string day1 is equal to scan.nextLine. This will take in the input in the form of a string. And we'll create another one called string day2, and we'll also call this one, or this will also be equal to scan.nextLine. Okay, once that is done, we will now take all of the characters inside day1, put it inside parking1, and we will do the same for day2. So to do that, we'll use a loop, a for loop. We'll say for int I equals 0 while I is more than day1. You can also use day2. It doesn't matter though, because they're all the same length, because you want parking lot to grow bigger or like decrease in size over the course of one day. I mean, unless the construction workers are like really fast, but it's not gonna happen. Length I plus. Okay, and then we'll use the substring method and put it into parking. Okay, so for we'll use the parking 1 I is equal to day1 dot substring I and I plus 1. No, and in this case we have to use length minus 1. And we will say parking 2 I is equal to day2 dot substring I plus 1. After that, we'll put all the values in parking lot I. Afterwards, we actually have filled up our parking lot. We will then compare each index of parking lot 1 to parking lot 2. And then what we will do is we will compare using another for loop. I is equal to 0 while I is smaller than parkin1.length. Again, you can use parkin2.length. They're the same length, so it doesn't matter. I plus plus. Now we will compare. We'll say if parkin1 I is equal to parkin2. Oh, sorry, parkin2I. Then we will. Okay, so I forgot. We should also create int count. Count the number of times card we CC. So if card 2 and parkin 1 I is equal to, it's uppercase C, okay, uppercase C, and parkin 2 I is equal to an uppercase C. Only under these conditions will we actually say count plus plus. We'll just increase it by 1. And at the end we will system.out.println count. Let's try this out. Error duplicate class name. Let's delete this. Okay, so we are in. Okay, let's just refresh this. Okay, and go to our shell. Oh, here we have someone. So their solution is to make 2 arrays size n. For n times, iterate through each array I and array 1. If they both equal C, count plus equals 1, and then print count. Oh yeah, that's true. So I can actually just get rid of this, really. So yeah, cut. So let's cd into our J2 file. And afterwards, we'll run main.java. And okay, let's see, how long do we want? Alright, so let's say we have 5. cc.c. Oh, hold on. Oh, there. Wait a moment. So take in 5. Okay. Scan the next line. That's not good because let's troubleshoot to see what's going on. I think I might have made a small mistake. So declare our variable count, which will basically hold the number of times a same parking spot is occupied. Then scanner, okay. Create an integer n. Okay. Right. String day 1 is equal to scan.nextLine. String day 2 is equal to scan.nextLine. Okay. Let's try again. Or no, sorry, shell. So say number 5 cc dot c. Okay. Equals scan.nextLine. And afterwards, so we've created our array. That's weird. How come It won't let me take in this. Alright, so what if I put this one ahead? So let's say it's cc.c. I don't think I'm supposed to do that. Alright. Input mismatch exception. Oh, hold on. Okay, yeah, I understand. It's because I inputted a string as an int. Yeah, stupid mistake. Right, say 5 cc.c. So it still will only take that. Part 1. Let's try this again. In count, declare our scanner object, create an int n, that would be scan.next int, create our string array. We'll refer to this array called parkcount1, okay, with length n. However, string day 1 and string day 2. Okay, how about let's just get rid of everything including this except for these. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this for now, and let's get rid of these parking. Let's try running it to see if the issue is here. Okay, so 5.c. Okay, what if I try this again and say Java cc dot. Oh, my bad. I was supposed to input int first. 5 cc dot. Oh, what's this doing here? Five cc dot. This is interesting. Okay, how about we just rewrite it entirely inside the J11. Yeah, okay, we could do that. So alright, yeah, because this shouldn't be happening. I know for a fact that the syntax is all correct. Yeah, but in the meantime, I think you guys understand the question, so also try working it out yourselves. I'm pretty sure this shouldn't be my issue. This should be an issue with REPL. Maybe I just did something stupid. Who knows? Okay. I failed to connect retrying. What? Oh yeah, this is why you should probably use a different editor. Like I don't know, maybe VS Code. VS Code is good. Alright, let's go and run our main Java file. Okay, and say we want 5. Say all our oh sorry, I didn't create the array yet. String 0 parkent 1 is equal to string, and the length will be of n. Did I disconnect? My bad, guys. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, I think it should be fine now. Let's run this again. So let's say that we will take int 5 as our first int, and for our string we will say ccc dot dot. What if I try for any other string? Five, let's say k ts dot okay. Maybe if I delete this file, where's this folder? So string. Just try it over here in the console. Shell was not working. Okay, so let's say we want main.java not found. Okay, you know what? Never mind that, guys. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to use my VS Code instead. Yeah, sorry about that, but this should work. So we are in this one, okay. So let's break out our trusty command prompt and run it. So we'll go inside of ccc. Oh, sorry, cd desktop ctc, and then we will then go into 2016j2, whatever this folder is called, and we'll run this main.java file. Okay, so let's say we want 5. This is not the right one. 2016j2. Oh, hold on, I didn't save this. That's why it's still appearing as the old one. Okay, let's say we want 5. cc. How about we just name this a completely different string? We'll name this string. Okay, so we'll just refer to this as string. So it's not letting me take in two strings. Okay. Alright, so that's interesting. Alright, okay, what I'll do instead is I'll just start from the very start. Let's just pretend that that never happened and we're rewriting the question. So let's create our int count. We'll give it a value of 0. Then afterwards we'll say scanner equals scanner scan equals new scanner system.in. We'll say that our string park in lot 1 is equal to scan.next line. Okay. Afterwards, we'll say string park in lot 2 is equal to scan.next line. Say int n is equal to scan.next int. Right, so let's see if this works. Import java.util scanner. Okay. Okay, what I'll just do is I'll just create a brand new scanner object and then use that to take in the input. Log 2 is equal to input next log. I don't think I should have to create an entirely new object in order to reuse it. I should be able to reuse the object. Okay, 5. And for some reason it's not letting me take in the input. Alright, okay, sorry about that, guys. It's kind of embarrassing that's not working. Okay, so if any of you guys know what the issue is, let me know. Maybe, well, we understand how to work this question, so I think that's good. That's good. But I'm not sure why we're not able to take in. Well, so what if I wanted to take in multiple int? It won't let me either. So for strings, I can't do that. Okay. What if I say this? Then day is equal to scan.next line. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that works now. Alright. Okay, alright. Alright, okay, so I just had to like declare the string as an empty string and then use it. Alright. Okay. Alright, that makes sense. Alright. Now let's actually test it to see if it works. So let's see cc dot c. Now why won't it let me? So 5 cc dot c. Is it because of my dots that I'm using? Java main dot java. Okay, so alright, so it has to do, I think. Okay, so it has to do with these dots I'm using. So alright, so if you're doing it for me, I'll just not use these and instead I will just use X's to indicate whether or not they're taken. Alright, so let's try this again, but instead we won't use dots. So what? CC X XC. Now why will it only let me take in one? C. Oh my bad. Was it taken in? Alright, okay, well in that case, I think after class what I'll do is I'll post a video individually that won't be a stream with the solution. I'll just figure out what's going on here and we'll move to the next question. The next question will take a bit longer anyway, so we'll need the time. Alright, so question 3 is, are we there yet? So the problem description is, you decide to go for a very long drive on a very straight road. Along this road are 5 cities. As you travel, you record the distance between each pair of consecutive cities. Okay, we would like to calculate a distance table that indicates the distance between any 2 of the cities you have encountered. Alright, so let's take a look at the sample input. So 3, 10, 12, 5. So these are the 4 cities. Okay. Alright. So the first one is 0 because obviously you start out at 0, then to 3. So you haven't made it to the city, I guess, yeah? So you want to calculate, along this road are 5 cities. As you travel, you record the distance between each pair of consecutive cities. Represent the distances between consecutive pairs of consecutive cities. Okay, so we know that the first city, so the distance from city 1 to city 2 is 3. The distance from city 2 to city 3 is 10. And the distance from city 3 to city 4 is 12. And the distance from city 4 to city 5 is 5. Okay, so in that case, we know that the distance from, if we're at city 1, we know that it's a distance of 0 because we're already at city 1. And then if we want to go to distance 2, then we know it's a distance of 3 away. And then for distance, if we want to get to city 3, we know that it's 13 away. And then if we want to get to the next one, it's going to be 25 away. And if we want to get to the last city, it will be 30 away. Okay. So basically, we want to each value is going to be how far the city is in relation to where we are. So the city that we're at will always be at 0. That will be at our 0. So let's draw it out. So say we have a line like this. And along this line, we have points, which are cities. Let's say one city is here, another city is here, another city is here, another city is here, and another city is here. So we know that the distance between where we start at and the next city over is 3. So what we'll do is we'll name this one, we'll name this city 1, we'll name this city 2, we'll name this city 3, take this down a bit, and we will name this city 4, and our last city 5. Since we start at first city, we know that this one is 3 away, so we'll say that this distance is 3. This distance is 10, 12, and 15. Okay, 10. Well, not 110, just 10. 12 and 15. 3, 10, 12, 15. Oh, sorry, 5. Okay, so I'll put this up here so that it's a bit easier to see. So we're given the input, and this is basically the distances between the cities. We start at city 1, which is at 0. And then we go to city 2, which is 3. Say they're 3 kilometers away. No, that's way too close. We'll just say it's 3 away. Okay, so then we go to city 3, which is 3 plus 10. So it's 13 away. And afterwards, we go 3 plus 10 plus 12. That's 25 away. We're 30 away. Okay, so this is where we are at the first time. But once we move to the second one, this one becomes 3 away. This one now only becomes 10 away. This one now becomes 22 away, right here. And this one now becomes 27 away. Alright? So that's how it works. And then once we get here, this will be 13 away, this will be 10 away. This point will be 13 away, this point will be 10 away, this point will be 0 away. And afterwards, this point here will be 12 away, this point here will be 17 away. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to print out basically where we are. And so one of the ways we can do this is we can do this through an integer array, okay? And so basically we start at I, right? And every single time we go I plus 1, or like I plus I1, basically in that array. So city I is I plus 1. So we're going to, first of all, we're going to go to our main file. And then take or create our first variable n, and we're going to give it the value of, or hold up, we have to first create our scanner object. Scan equals new scanner system. And so we'll say that our int n is equal to scan.nextInt. Also, if you guys want, you guys don't have to follow along. You guys can also think of your own solution too. That would be fun too. Can't see that one for some reason. But that's okay. Alright. So once we have our int n, that's going to tell us the first 4 numbers. Okay. So what we'll also do is we'll also create an int array, and we'll say int array is equal to new int array. And this interarray will be of a length 5. Okay, say D1. These will just D1, D2, those will represent the distance between cities. Okay, initial distance equals scan. Next int D3 is equal to next int, and I will just copy and paste this. And then we'll have the 4 distances. Okay, so this is the first part. So I think what I'll do is we'll go overtime today. Seeing as it's our last class for the summer, I think we'll go overtime to around 5:20. So I'm going to give everyone 5 minutes just to see if they can try to code up the solution themselves, because this question is a bit harder than the last one and the previous one. I just want to see if everyone is able to do it themselves, because we know the theory, so we know that we know how to get it without coding it. So yeah, I'll give everyone 5 minutes for that, and I'll check back, or now 4 minutes. I'll give everyone 4 minutes now. I'll check back at 5:56 to see if you guys have an idea of how to do it yourselves, and if not, I will show you guys how to do it. This chat is not working though. Can't even see it. Okay, let's try popping it out. Alright. Okay, I think everyone understands how the question works. Okay, so you're basically every single time basically just writing how far away the city is. So just calculate, essentially it's calculating the distance between these two cities. You can also think of it like that. Okay, it's 5:59. I think I'll just start working now on it. So first, let's create our scan. Then what we'll do is we'll create an int. We'll call this D, represent distance, and we'll put all of our distances within this array. So we'll call it new int with a length of 4. Afterwards, we'll create an int C. And this int C will, instead of storing distances, we'll just store the cities. And this will have 5. of cities. Okay, so now we have the input of that. We're going to use our scanner object that we got to get the input for the city. So we'll say for I is equal to 0, while I is smaller than the dot length, I plus plus, and we'll say, okay, we'll say D I will be equal to scan dot next int, yes, and that will give us the input of that. And after that, once we've taken in the input, we want to kind of build our like instructions to find out the distance from it. So for that, we're going to use a loop. And to do that, what we'll first do is create another for loop for int I is equal to 1, or no, sorry, yeah, I is equal to 0, while I is smaller than c dot length, say I plus plus. And afterwards that, we'll say that c I, so basically our distance will be equivalent to our it will be equivalent to the distance of the city before plus the city ahead. So say c I minus 1 plus b I minus 1. Okay, let me take a look at that really quick. Okay, so yeah, that looks good. Okay, now let's calculate the distance. So I think, yes. Okay, yeah, so here we'll write a for loop. So let's say int I is equal to 0. Well, I is smaller than the number of cities. I plus after 0, so say for int j equals 0. Say j is smaller than j is smaller than 5. Say j plus plus, and then we'll have a loop here. And so inside of this loop, what we'll do is we'll create an int x. Say that x will be the distance between city, and so we'll say c j cj is equal to c, index is equal to cj minus ci. After that, what we'll do is we'll compare, see if x is larger than 0. Negative 1. Afterwards, we want to print out x, our distance. So what we would do is we'll system print line, print out x length. And afterwards, we will then print out, well, no, we won't use the print line because that will just print on the new line. Instead, we want to then print out dot line, and we will print out a little space. So then our output kind of looks like this, where it's separated by a space in between. And afterwards, every single time we finish doing this once, this will just print out one line, right? This will just print out when we're at one city, but when we want to move on to the next city, we want to add a line, print it on the new line. So we'll just say system out print line, we'll say this, print a space. Okay, and that should be, yeah, that's it. So let's try running it now. Oh, so let's say we 3, 10, 12, 5, 3, 10, 12, 5. Afterwards, we're given this sort of thing. Because at the very start, we're at city number 1. Okay, and the distance between city number 1 and city number 2 is 3. Okay, so that means it's 3 away. And then the distance between city number 2 and city number 3 is 10. So then we have to do the distance from city number 1 plus the distance from city number 2. That gives us 13. And then if 25, then we have to also, then we want to go to city number 3. That's going to be 12 away from city number 2. So then we also have to add 3, 10, and 12. Okay, and then if city number 5 is 5 kilometers away from city number 4, we add 5, and then we take the distance from city number 3 to city number 4, which is 12, and this distance from city number 2 to city number 3, which is 10, and afterwards the distance from city number 1 to city number 2, 3. We add it together, and then we're able to find the distance from city number 1 all the way to city number 5. Okay, so we still have some time because I want to go a bit later today. Seeing as it is our last class of the summer, I think we'll go to do some code and back questions too. So last time we went over some array and logic questions. Today let's try going over another array question and say we'll go to make last. So these ones will be easier than the other ones. So given an int array, return a new array with double the length where its last element is the same as the original array and all the other elements are 0. The original array will be length 1 or more. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say we'll first create a variable with the value of nums length multiplied by 2. Okay, and then we'll say we can new array, so we'll say int array is equal to new int. We'll say array new int, and it'll have a length of n, which is nums.length times 2. Yep, and then we will say that int r dot length minus r dot length is equal to nums dot length. Omits a return statement, and we will return array. Out of bounds exception. Okay. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay. So length minus 1. And as you can see, we got the end. I also could have omitted this line, technically. I replaced just straight up not declaring n and instead just doing this. But I thought that having the variable n would make it a bit more readable. So we created an array which is twice the length of nums. Nums.length times 2 is twice the length of nums. And afterwards, we will go to the end of array 1, the end of this array, and then make it so that the last value at that last index will be equal to the value which is at the last index of nums. So let's see their solution, how they did it. Oh, okay, so basically same way. Alright. Double 23. Given an int array, So given int array, return true if the array contains 2 twice or 3 twice. The array will be given length 0, 1, or 2. Okay, so we'll say, so for, oh, this is easy. We'll just say if it contains 2 or 3 twice. So because it can only be at most 2 of a length 2, then we don't really need to use an array. We can just straight up use the if statement. So we'll say, or no, we'll use the for loop. Smaller than stop length 5 plus plus for int j is equal to 5 plus 1 minus 1. Well, j is smaller than num stop length j plus plus. I will say if nums I is equal to 2 and nums I is equal to nums j. We'll say return true. We'll also have another if statement, which is going to be the exact same, except we'll switch out that for 3. Oh, missing return statement. Okay, if none of that happens, just return false. And as you can see, we've got it all correct. So let's go through the line by line, because I think well, you technically didn't have to use for loops for this, but I just decided to, because let's think if this was like length n, which means it could be any length, then we would have to use an array, or sorry, we'd have to use a loop. So what we start at is we first compare the first one. So let's pretend we actually have a larger array. Let's pretend we have an array which has 5 values. And let's say that within this we have these integer values. Okay, so we want to look for, or let's just change this to 10. We want to look for duplicates within this array. Now, at first glance, we can obviously see that 10 and 10 are duplicates, but algorithmically speaking, what we would do is that we would first have to compare this value 10 with every single value in this array. Okay, so we will go with 10 and then compare it with 12, 55, 7, and 10. Oh, right. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll also compare 12 to see if 12 is a duplicate of any other number. So then we will go with 12, we'd compare it with 10, then we'd compare with 55, with 7 and 10, and so forth. And then we take 55, we compare it with 7, 10, take 7. So basically, the entire time is that we have to use these nested loops and compare each value with every other value in the array. So we start here and then compare all the way over here, and then afterwards we go to the next one over and we compare with all of the other ones in front of it, and then we go to the next one and compare with all the ones in front of it. And that's how we can find a duplicate numbers inside of the array. Okay, next let's do one more question. So, given an int array length 3, if there is a 2 in the array immediately followed by 3, set the 3 element to 0. Okay, this one is not hard, so we'll just create a so for int. Well, let's assume that this array is the length could be anything. Okay, then we can practice using a loop on array. Well, I is smaller than nums minus 1 plus plus, and we will say that if nums I equals 2 and nums I plus 1 equals 3, return nums I plus 1 equals 0. Then we'll say afterwards we'll return the array. Here, nums I plus 1 equal to 0. Int I, sorry, I forgot to set to 0. And there we go. So we use the array to check every single one except the last one, because if we check the last one, then we're going to be also checking I plus 1, which is the array after the last one. But because there's nothing after it, it will give us an index. Well, no, I don't know the specific error, but it will give us an error. That's why we have to be careful and make sure to use the -1 if we're comparing to the character or number in front of it. So in this case, we had to check if nums I was equal to 2 and then check if the number after was equal to 3 and then set it to 0 if it was. Okay. Alright, really quickly, let's go back to Java and let's try doing an array 2, system 13. So return the sum of the numbers in the array, returning 0 for an empty array, except the number 13 is very unlucky so that it does not count, and numbers that come immediately after a 13 also do not count. Okay, so return the sum of numbers. Okay, so let's create int sum. So we'll say for int I is equal to 0 while I is smaller than nums.length plus plus. We'll say sum if nums I equals 13, then we break and we will return sum. But if not, sum will equal to sum plus nums I. Function 3. Is this implying that... Oh, it just means that we'll just say that I plus plus. It will just skip over one number. And nums I is not equal to nums dot length. Let's go. Alright, let's go back. This one was supposed to give 3. Okay, because right after this one, that one doesn't count, so okay. Let's say sum is equal to sum minus nums I plus 1. And we'll say if it's also not the last one in the array, so and nums and I is not equal to nums dot length. If nums I is equal to 13, but I is equal to nums dot length, we'll just say sum equal to sum. And 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, there should be an and. So if I is equal to 13, we will discard the one in front of it. Okay, so in that case, we'll just say if nums I is equal to 13, say nums I plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. Nums I plus 1 is equal to 0, and then sum is equal to sum plus nums I, yeah. So for this one, we get an array of balances. Oh, okay. And nums and I is not equal to nums of length is 1. And then we'll also say if nums I is equal to 13 and I is equal to so except the number, so if it does not count, right? So in this case it would be okay. All right. So we'll also say nums I will also be equal to 0. Not for this. Oh, sum is equal to sum plus nums. There we go. And so we also have to make if another if statement. If nums I equal to 13, and I is equal to nums dot length minus 1 nums I equals 0. And that's where we can get all correct now. So sorry about that one. Yeah, I didn't actually completely read the question, so I wasn't sure if 13 should count or the number after should not count. But yeah, so we go use a loop to check every single number within the array, and then we look to see if it's 13. And if it's not, and if the 13 is not the last number in the array, then we'll say that 13 will be equal to 0, and then the number after 13 will be equal to 0. But if nums I is 13 and it is the last number in the array, well, in that case, we only turn that into 0. We don't actually turn the number after into 0. And afterwards, we just add the sum. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically it today. I want to thank you guys over the past couple months. I think lots of you guys have learned a lot. I'm going into the fall. I'm also going to continue teaching. So that's why I think today, yeah, I'm going to send you guys this form. Send you guys this form. Let's see, how do I send it? Google Forms. And I'm going to share with you guys this form for those who are still there. Basically, just telling you guys, it's basically to fill out so that I can contact you guys in the future for future youth computing events. Yeah, okay. So I will take the link, copy it, and put it in here. So this link was basically for the Google form, because this Java workshop is just one part of youth computing. Youth computing is just an organization, and we host tech events like STEM related events. I'm just one of the people here, and this is just one of the events we have. So going into the future, like in the fall, we're going to have a hackathon coming up with prizes. And during that hackathon, we're also going to have workshops and keynote speakers. And so they have lots of great insight too, and lots of other classes, free classes too. For instance, one of our people at Youth Computing, he's going into Waterloo for software engineering in the fall, and he's quite knowledgeable about neural networks, and so we're going to have some sort of machine learning or a neural network workshop going on during that period in the fall. I'm not sure what library it's using, most likely TensorFlow, but yeah, if you're interested in participating in lots of more of these kinds of events, I want to know when I'll be teaching again. This is going to be my last class for the summer. I will be restarting in the fall, but I think I may not be able to get hold of you guys unless I don't know you personally. So that's why it's best if you fill out this Google form. That way I'm able to contact you guys when more youth computing events occur. So that way you guys will know when they happen and you'll be able to participate, alright? So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys for coming and thank you guys for being with me this summer. And yeah, see you guys in the fall. Also fill out the form too. That way I can contact you. Bye.